You play a game. Did you sit on one or did you? No. Did you see that? I didn't see your face. Notice I didn't even look. There's a couple chairs up here in the front row, or you can move them. Okay. Okay, I'll give everybody another minute or two. Actually, we can wait till closer to the end to fill in to see how many you get. Okay, so welcome everybody. This is, as it says, Sleep Smarter. Those of you who don't know me, everybody here does, but we might have some, is that turned around the right way? Okay. Those of you who don't know me, my name is Cheryl Baumflock. I am a registered nurse. I've been almost 40 years, I've been a nurse. Worked at Bryan West Ortho Trauma. I have taught nursing. I have done some school nursing. I've done a lot with nursing. Now I'm here helping coach and teach our patients about the supplements. I do the assessments, working on those 5 essentials that we talk about that we promote. So tonight we're going to talk about sleep and how important sleep is, and hopefully a little bit more information about how to get better sleep. So you guys do all, I think everybody should have a little word puzzle. There will be prizes at the end for whoever gets the most right answers. So work on that, but also listen at the same time. So as it says, sickness is their business and their business is good. So this, of course, is referring to the medical community. It's a sick care system. When do you go to the doctor? When you're feeling sick, when you don't feel quite up to yourself, quite right. And what do your doctors give you? A pill or something, or they'll do surgery and take something out, which then causes you typically to have another surgery or another medication to take care of the side effects of the last medication, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's a multi-trillion-dollar business. It's all run, the insurance companies, the pharmaceutical companies kind of run our healthcare system as far as who gets care, what kind of care you're going to get. They're actually able to decide what medications or supplements or treatments can be approved and covered by insurance. And it's usually not the preventative care, it's always the care that's going to keep you coming back, unfortunately.
So we're going to tonight offer you a little different model on both healthcare and sleep. And if you've been to any classes before, you've probably heard of Five Essentials. Right. So we'll be breaking down chiropractic, nutrition, mindset, fitness, and toxicity, and how they play a role in you sleeping more. I know a lot of you are here because you're actually having trouble with sleeping, or you want to not have trouble with sleeping. And so we're going to be jumping into these in each of these tools here. So first, we have to understand the consequences of poor sleep. It is one of the leaders for all types of neurological conditions, especially the ones as we age, things like Alzheimer's and dementia. If you track sleep and you track the people that don't sleep, they have the highest risk of these things. But it's not just our elderly that are dealing with this, it's also our kids. Our kids are dealing with all sorts of these issues. And I'm unfortunately going to blame the same thing that we're looking at. The technology, the screens, the blue light, a lot of these different things that have come up over the last several decades have really impacted the quality of our kids' sleep, and adults too, right? We're not exempt. Most of us have a smartphone in our pocket right now, and we spend more time on it than we should. And it is our, branch into community, and it's not all bad. But if we let it consume our lives, it definitely is. Because this all leads to all sorts of awful health issues down the road.
Okay. So as it says, dangers of sleep medications. Like I said, I am a nurse. I taught nursing. I still continue to tutor pharmacology. I do tutor pharmacology. There are a whole host of sleep medications out there. And interestingly, I just went to or attended a webinar last week. And what they were saying was most of the prescriptions and even supplements out there right now for sleep will help you get to sleep, but they're not necessarily going to help you stay asleep. And so this particular company is working on, it's the Designs for Health, which is where we get a lot of our supplements, have done some research on a supplement that's made out of brown rice that actually helps people stay asleep longer without that hangover in the morning. A lot of people will take a sleeping aid, even melatonin, which is a hormone that your body already makes. And we use a lot of, American and probably other countries as well, use a lot of melatonin as a more natural sleep aid. Again, you have to be really careful. We'll talk more about the effects of melatonin. But if you don't take it early enough in the evening, you still get that kind of that groggy hangover in the morning. So some of the dangers is this, a Boulder school bus driver was actually, he had taken Ambien the night before he was driving to get a good night's sleep. And then he ran his bus into a brick wall with 17 kids on the bus. He was actually, as you can see, cited for driving under the influence. Another little example from personal experience. Many years ago, my dad, of course, was complaining, I can't sleep, I can't sleep, I can't sleep. So what did his doctor do? Gave him this pill, right? I don't know if you've seen the little commercial with the little butterfly, the Lunesta. Yeah, they gave him that. Well, he took it, didn't think anything of it. The next morning, this happened to be on an Easter Sunday, got up and went to church with my brother in Omaha, and he kept falling asleep. And of course, he was also type 2 diabetic. So they first panicked, thinking his blood sugars were low. So they took him home and checked his sugars. His sugars were fine. They called me panicking. I said, I'll be there as soon as I can. I'm an hour away. And I sat down with my dad and I talked to him about what he had taken. Well, he took a sleeping pill and he was still hungover from that sleeping pill at 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning. By 2 in the afternoon, he finally woke up. I said, don't you ever take another one of those again. Again, just another example. Had they not had his glucometer with him, they would have loaded him up with sugar and would have made it even worse. But they knew enough not to do that. But this happens all the time. If you take it too early, then you fall asleep before you want to. But again, you don't stay asleep. So how many hours do you need to sleep? And you can see from this, we all need sleep. We all need 7 or more hours. 7's the minimum here. On average, the American adult gets 5.5 hours of sleep per night. And yes, research does show that women need 30 minutes a day more, or 30 minutes a night more than what men do, which probably isn't happening, I'm pretty sure. I know in my household it's not. Especially those with young kids. It's typically mom that's going to be getting up. Not always, but more often than not. So you can see how many hours we should be getting to sleep.
Going back to that chart, if you're wondering, for you, where am I at in that range? So everybody's a little different. These are normals, but normals are averages, right? It's a range. Most people, I find, actually need to trend toward the upward side just to catch up for whackers. So we're going to be going through the 4 stages of sleep and then how do we lever these different categories in order to get back to sleep. So there's non-rapid eye movement, stage 1. This is basically where you're between drowsy and falling asleep. Kind of like Brent right now. You can see his eyelids are starting to droop a little bit. He's leaning way back. If I don't stay on top of it or tell a funny story, he may be gone. So we got to try to keep him out of that. NREM, so non-rapid eye movement, stage 1 sleep, so he doesn't get there. Now, stage 2 sleep, that's where your body temperature begins to drop, and your heart rate begins to slow, and then your brain begins to do sleep spindles. It only lasts about 20 minutes. We got 5 to 10 to 20. So now we're 30 to 35 minutes into sleep. And that's where we start to enter the good parts. Now, a lot like Cheryl was saying earlier, if we take a sleep medication or even a melatonin supplement, probably staying right here the whole time. We need to get into here. This is where healing happens. This is where rest happens. This is where tissue repair happens. If you're a baby or a child and you're growing, this is where that happens. So we need this, and then the REM sleep. That's where your body starts to treat the rapid eye movement when you sleep. So this chart here is from a Oura Ring and the app that it has to help track sleep from a friend of mine. I don't have one. I'm not huge on the EMF fields, especially during sleep. But you can kind of see his sleep on Tuesday, September 10th. And so we've got stage 1, falling asleep. He doesn't have many of those. We can see he was kind of coming out of it a couple of times during the night. He went to bed that night around 9:20. And you can see that he went pretty rapidly all the way down through stage 2, stage 3, and into stage 4, like almost instantaneously. He did a really good job. He's overcome a lot. He used to have a lot of adrenal fatigue and adrenal overload, and so his stress hormones were out of whack. Well, he's gotten that fixed now, and because he went to bed so early, he's in a really long phase 4, that REM sleep. Now, let's say he hadn't gone to bed until, let's call this 11 p.m. How much REM sleep would he have gotten? How much healing time would his body have achieved? Now, this is something, since I've been preparing for this class, has really hit me hard because I like to stay up late because that's the only time in the day I can get quality time with my wife. And by quality time, I mean watching Netflix and sitting next to her, and we both have our phones up, right? So all the wrong things to do when you're going to sleep. And so I'm just sitting there, reading about this and reading about how great he's doing. I'm like, I'm doing it the wrong way. I'm doing it backwards. I'm robbing from Peter to pay Paul. And it doesn't work. That's not how Paul works. Paul works on the front end. So that sleep really, and it really comes down to these three levers. Light, our bodies and our hormones are primed for light. And so if we can start getting to sleep within 1 to 2 hours after dark, I know it's hard right now because we're in Nebraska and that dark is like 5:30 p.m.
Yeah.
So 7:30 bedtime. Yeah, for me, that really helps our hormones out. We get the deepest, most restful, most healing sleep. If we're skipping that, we're not getting to bed until after midnight in some cases. We're barely getting any healing sleep and our bodies aren't preparing. So lever one, light and dark. So yes, our sleep hormones cycle with natural light. And so sunrise is really so much. And when you first wake up in the morning, one of the most important things you can do if you want to have healthy sleep is to get natural light in your eyes and on your skin, ideally not behind a window. If you can go out into it for even 10 minutes, your hormones are going to prime themselves so much better than if you just stay inside, or especially you keep the house dark and you're only using blue lights like your cell phone, go sit on the toilet and scroll through that for a couple minutes. That's the worst way to start. The best way to start the day, get your cup of coffee or your glass of water or your tea, go outside, even if you're bundled up and your skin's completely covered against the cold, 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, like even just start with one if it just sounds like too terrible of an idea. And then the other thing is getting that nighttime. So when we're going to bed, yes, I would prefer for you to do it within 2 hours of sunset. I would prefer that for me too. But even if you're like me and you're not going to do it until 11 p.m., make sure your room is completely pitch black. There shouldn't be any lights on at the outlet. There shouldn't be any TV lights or computer lights. There shouldn't be alarm clock lights. No lights at all. And something that I just did for my kitchen, just in case I need to go in the middle of the night to get a drink of water, is I put red lights around the base of the cabinets so they're reflecting down, so I'm not getting light in my eyes to go out there and see that. So light matters when it comes to sleep hormones.
One other thing on what for those shift workers who get off at 7 o'clock in the morning when the sun's coming up, and then that's going to stimulate and you're not going to get sleep. It's recommended to wear really dark sunglasses to get home and then go to bed.
Even better would be to quit your job.
Well, you don't want a nurse or a police officer available. Those people are, and they have to work.
Yeah.
Okay, cold. So cold temperature, your ideal sleeping temperature is between 65 and 68 degrees in your room. So you're going to sleep better, and take a cold plunge, even a minute under a cold shower. And this doesn't have to be at the end of your shower or at the beginning of your shower. You could take a nice hot shower, blast yourself for a minute with cold, and then get back out, or warm you up and then get out. That's going to help stimulate those hormones to get you awake in the morning. It's not going to work if you're a nighttime shower person. Again, if you take your shower in the morning, take the cold plunge. Or when you're going outside in this weather, that's a 2-for-1. Okay, so like it says, it raises the body temperature to help stimulate that cortisol peak. Cortisol is your body's natural steroid hormone. Sets your clock so that the melatonin, which is your natural let's go to sleep hormone, will start working as it's supposed to. This actually says 30 to 60 seconds of cold. Okay. Optimal sleep, I guess I jumped the gun, 65 to 68. The cooler temperature promotes better sleep because it supports the body's natural circadian rhythm. Circadian rhythm is that 24-hour clock that our body has. And of course, we just said that your body temperature naturally will drop when you're asleep, and we want to promote that body temperature drop. Did you want to do infrared?
Yeah, so this isn't either of those things, but I figured since we have it, let's talk about how this helps sleep. So Let me just walk you guys through an exercise real quick. If your blood pressure lowered from high to normal range, do you think you'd sleep better or worse? Better. If your chronic pain started to decrease a little bit, do you think you'd sleep better or worse? Better, okay. If your blood flow was better, do you think you would also sleep better? Okay, good. If you lost a little bit of weight, do you think that would help your sleep? Yeah, okay. How about if you had less toxins in your body? Do you think your sleep cycles and your hormones for sleep would work a little bit better? Yeah. And then how about if your cardiovascular health was better? Do you think you would sleep better or worse? Better, hopefully. How about if your joints weren't quite as stiff and you went to bed a little bit more relaxed? Better? Okay, good, good. And then reducing malignant cancer cells. Okay, that has nothing to do with sleep at all, right? So these are all just the side benefits of infrared sauna. This doesn't treat any of those things, but these are things that we notice for people that use it. In fact, if you use the infrared sauna, especially right after a workout, it extends the cardiovascular benefits. And I know for myself and Margie, she doesn't have to talk about this tonight, but we really prefer you to do it as part of your warm-up routine before you get adjusted or get a massage, because everything relaxes and gets looser. It's much easier for us to work out. And so definitely do this. All the sauna packages are 50% off tonight. So whether you're wanting to try it or you want to extend using the sauna, we definitely recommend that. We do. We do. We have two of them right back there. So yeah, they're hiding behind the water machine. All right, and then I put a picture of a baby here because his mom brought him into me to help him with sleep. And actually, I don't get many adults coming into me for sleep issues, but I get a lot of adults with sleep issues. But moms know enough about chiropractic and natural health that they understand that chiropractic can help with sleep. But they never think about it for themselves. When they're the ones only getting like 5 hours of sleep, getting up, interrupted sleep in the middle of the night. That it really has to do with that vagus nerve tone. Your vagus nerve, that's this blue one here that goes up to the lungs, the heart, the gallbladder, the pancreas, the spleen, goes to the stomach, intestines large and small. That is your rest and digest nerve. And we're going to get into chiropractic in a little while. But babies, especially, they don't have any previous knowledge about how chiropractic is supposed to work. They just receive the benefits, right? And so they do. They sleep better after chiropractic adjustments. It's not something that I can say, oh yeah, I'm going to adjust you, you're going to fall asleep, like this is going to be great. But in general, as the population of kids comes in, they start sleeping better. And actually, when we're looking at progress evaluation forms, one of the biggest side effects I see of improvements for patients is, oh yeah, I am getting a little bit better sleep. I'm feeling a little bit more rested. And it's just one of those things that we do when we're living the 5 essentials. So I did want to take a second before we transition into the third lever and talk a little bit about our sleep and mood formula, because it's focused on hormone production and regulation. So a lot of people will just jump in, they will take a melatonin supplement and they'll get like 200 milligrams, which is way too much. But that's pretty standard dose if you're buying a melatonin supplement. If you take that, you can very well get addicted or you can overdose. So please don't. Please do not take a melatonin supplement that is that high of a dose. What I like about ours is that the melatonin in here is only 50 milligrams. So you're not going to get addicted to it. It's a small amount, and this is also not designed for you to take it forever either. Plus, then it comes with inositol, L-theanine, and serotonin. What's serotonin? What's that hormone called? The feel-good hormone or the happy, healthy hormone? That's a really important one. So L-theanine and inositol are actually there to help with hormone uptake and production so that it works more efficiently. So less actually gives you more in the case of the sleep and mood formula. So I know there are some patients out there, there's one watching online tonight that doesn't respond very well to melatonin. So I wouldn't recommend this form. If you've ever had a melatonin overdose, don't take this supplement. But if you already know that your sleep cycle is disrupted and you need to get back online, you take this with your evening meal, not too late. You don't want to wait too late. And and then have it disrupt you going all the way through. But take that with your last meal of the night, 2 capsules. They're smaller capsules, kind of like the vitamin D3 capsules if you take our vitamin D3, and it works super well. I just gave it to my wife this week as kind of an experiment because she'd been complaining about waking up in the middle of the night. And she said that since I started giving it to her, she slept really well and she hasn't woken up at all. So, small sample size, but a good start.
Okay, so foods. Foods have a big impact, of course, on how we sleep. So any caffeine after 2 p.m. is shown to affect your sleep negatively. It's gonna wire you. If you need to do something with caffeine, do it before 2 p.m. You don't have to do anything with caffeine, that's better, obviously. Waking up in the middle of the night is caused by histamine dump. The next slide's gonna show you what some of those those foods are that are high in histamines. And then avoid those foods late at night. So here we go. Your fermented foods, your cheeses, your tofu, your mushrooms, chocolate it has caffeine in it. Also, the sauerkraut, the yeast, your sweetened beverages, processed meats, overripe fruits. Some of you may know that we're also working on doing some further nutrition testing. We're doing metabolomics and GI Spotlight that was, and some of those results have been coming back saying these people are having a very high histamine response and need to back off or go on a histamine-free diet. Where do you typically think of histamines? Has anybody taken an antihistamine when you sneeze? Okay, so that blocks the histamines. It's a part of your allergy response, your immune response, and it leads to a lot of systemic problems that we've been noticing in patients that we've been doing the GI Spotlight or the metabolomics on. So again, avoid these at all costs if you have to. Worst case scenario, eat them before 2 p.m. Just get a better rest and don't take the antihistamines. That's not a good option, but
That's actually why the histamines work.
yeah.
You know, if you're eating high histamine foods and then you take Benadryl and it makes you sleepy, it's because it's blocking the histamine response that these types of foods give you in your diet.
Okay.
All right, so you don't have to raise your hand if this is you, but if you're wired and tired and you're getting that feeling at bedtime, like you're so ramped up that you can't sleep, but you're just exhausted, adrenal stress, mid-afternoon slump, like you feel like you need a nap, it's adrenal stress, anxiety or feeling on the edge, depression, weight gain in the midsection, immunity issues, brain fog, or body aches are all signs of adrenal stress. Again, you don't have to raise your hand for that, but if you are dealing with that, then the adrenal balance is formulated specifically for that. So Dr. Eric, who did a lot of the education for us as we were preparing for this class, this was one of his major sleep issues, adrenal stress. He was just wired and tired all the time, couldn't get that rest, couldn't fall asleep, brain was going all the time. And so this formula here, obviously you can see it has a ton of things in it, but everything that it has in it comes from food, not some lab somewhere that artificially, put it together in the form that makes it these things. It's actually from foods. That's why it's got this botanical blend there. And all of these things, especially the ashwagandha, rhodiola, and L-theanines, these are called adaptogens. And adaptogens are fantastic because they can become whatever your body needs them to become. And so if you're short on this, that, or the other, they can say, oh, hey, we've got this buildup of adaptogens over here. Let's make it into more melatonin, or let's make it into more cortisol, or let's make it into more GABA, or whatever we need to have as a transmitter to do what our body needs to do, or hormonally to do what our body needs to do. And so the adrenal balance is a fantastic formula for that. So if that was you, if this last slide was you, then probably you don't need to start with melatonin. You need to get your adrenal glands balanced out so that they can properly function. Obviously, there's a lot more in there. We're trying to keep this under an hour. Now, the multi-magnesium, this is also a really important thing for your body's melatonin production. You know, not only does it go in here and relax your muscles, calm your nervous system, but it comes in here at the bottom, and it also allows your body to produce its own melatonin. So if your melatonin is not kicking on at the right time, and you feel like you're relying on melatonin supplement in order to get you to sleep, it's probably not a melatonin problem. It's probably back up the chain. And we burn through magnesium so much because it's responsible for over 200 different processes in your body. You know, if your muscles start cramping, probably a magnesium issue. And so what I like about our magnesium is it's not just magnesium citrate, which is the most common magnesium. Most people take magnesium citrate because it stimulates your bowels too. And they're like, oh, I'm all stopped up. No, I'm going to take magnesium citrate. It's actually really hard on your bowels. And it's also because it's, again, from a food source, we're getting this from spinach, we're getting this from beets, we're getting this from mushrooms. It actually absorbs better, again, because it's a food source of magnesium. And then it's not just the citrate. In fact, it doesn't have any citrate in there at all. This one will not make you fasting. You're going to get unbuffered magnesium glycinate, magnesium malate, and magnesium glycerophosphate, which are 3 different forms of magnesium that your body can utilize to do the things that you want magnesium to do inside your body. Make sense? Got it. Yes, question.
I just want to say I take that,
Mhm.
and I've taken a lot of things, but that one actually did what I needed to do.
It is a really good one.
Okay, so sleep hygiene, brain waves. So these would, if we were putting you in a sleep lab and putting all those electrodes all over your head, this is what we would be seeing. Gamma waves, you can see lots and lots of activity going on. This is while you're concentrating, focusing, learning. Your beta waves, a little bit slower, a little bit not quite as high. This is most of your activities during the day. These alpha waves, this is when you're just kind of vegetating in front of the computer or the TV or something like that. You're relaxed and sleepy. Theta, you can see very slow, very few peaks. This is during stage 1 and stage 2 sleep. And then your delta waves, this is during that stage 3 sleep. So these are your brain waves during the sleep cycle. Okay. Sleep routine. Dr. Jake has already said avoid the blue lights at night. Everything should be shut off an hour before, at least an hour before bedtime. Blue lights. I know. Massage for better sleep. That's you.
That's you.
You want to stand up and talk for a moment or two?
Just a minute, yeah. I guess just to reiterate, I'm Margie, the massage therapist. Anyway, yeah, so massage for sleep. It does, as they were saying, it does help to increase that melatonin, serotonin. It facilitates it. It allows for you to just overall feel better. And the dopamine, it also helps to get that dopamine. So all your hormones, it helps to facilitate your body's natural ability to sleep and engage all of the things. So that's it.
Is there a best technique for sleep?
As far as massage?
Yeah.
What do you like? What they could do at home, or?
It's not for you to do, like.
Oh, if you need to ask me how to get better sleep, yeah. Yes. There's so many different techniques to do with to achieve that goal in sleep. I guess the biggest thing is it's just if you want a relaxation, I need to get a sleep type massage, then just tell me that, and I'll do lighter pressure and try to get a little bit quieter feel. So, anyway. Thank you.
All right, so the other thing that massage can really help with, and one of the reasons why I brought Mark, because of this issue that I've been working with many of you on for quite a long time. That's the issue of head forward posture. And the reason why we're concerned about head forward posture, it's a lot of things. This is actually one of the biggest predictors for mortality, all-cause mortality. In fact, we can put it on a chart with all the things. So what are some of the things that you would have in your life that would predict mortality really well? Family history, kind of. That more has to do with lifestyle stuff. So if your dad was a smoker and you grew up in a house with a smoker, regardless of whether you smoked or not, that would be one of the things that would predict all-cause mortality. If you were a smoker, it would actually predict your all-cause mortality really well. Do you think that's higher or lower on the risk level than this? That's a good question. They actually ranked it. It's lower on the risk level. Yeah. Actually, the only things that go above this as far as your risk of all-cause mortality, it's two things. Number one is malignant cancer actively inside your body, or like stage 3, stage 4, stage 5 cancers. And then number two, you'd think it would be, somebody smoking. It's heart disease, a history of heart attacks. So you're already dying from cardiovascular disease. Everything else is lower risk than having this head forward posture. What the literature calls hyperkyphosis. And we're talking through this area of your spine, this upper back region, because most people don't get head forward posture because they do this, right? They're not just jutting their head out. Their shoulders slump and everything goes forward like that. And that pressure really impacts right around the brainstem, and particularly, I already mentioned this, the vagus nerve. And so you get locked up through your chest and upper back. You get too strong pecs, too weak of back muscles. This drops down because of lifestyle. Everything that we do is out in front, and our ears go forward from our shoulder. And so they illustrated the stress here. So you go mild head forward posture. What I would call anything under an inch would be mild head forward posture. Most people will never see a symptom from mild head forward posture. But if you go to that inch mark, that's 10 pounds of extra stress across your shoulders. And this is why all the moms and everybody come in with super tight muscles in the upper back because they have that mild and forward posture. Well, most actually don't have mild. They usually have moderate because they actually spend all that time while they're breastfeeding their baby doing this on their phone, right? They're either looking at that baby or looking at the phone or both. And so then they get that more severe hunch up there because they're not just dropping down, they're also hunching forward to get all the equipment in place. And then if you do that and you're not actively rehabilitating that, which I'll teach you how to do that in a minute, it goes to severe because things don't just fix on their own, especially once gravity gets old. Gravity wins in the end, right? We all end up 6 feet underground or in the wind, somewhere. We don't talk about that, right? But yeah, it goes, phase 1 is just out of place. Phase 2, that's out of place with bone spurs. And phase 3, that's out of place bone spurs, bone on bone. Phase 4 is stuck together. It actually grows together if you survive long enough. And this progresses at a rate of 7% per year if you're not actively working to combat it. That's why everybody needs to be getting checked by the chiropractor all the time. Because unless you get an x-ray, you don't know what stage you're in. Right? This is why chiropractors should be taking x-rays on their patients. Why a physical therapist should order x-rays on their patients. Why your general MD on their annual check should be like, have you had your annual x-rays yet? But when do they say that? They don't, because they don't even realize how big of a risk it is, even though it's right there in the literature. They should know that hyperkyphosis is worse for you than all but stage 3, 4, and 5 cancer, and all but the most severe cases of cardiovascular disease, but it's not out there. And they don't assess for the vagus nerve unless you have a severe neurological condition that they can trace back to the vagus nerve, which is a very, very small amount when you're talking about medical research and medical literature. But when you know what it all controls and you know that the intelligence inside you, that God put inside you, controls everything inside your body, it actively heals you and controls all function in your body, and function is the root definition of health, why wouldn't you? In fact, from that perspective, it's a necessity. And not just a necessity for you, but the people that you care about most. If my wife had pressure on her vagus nerve right now, I would probably leave, say, thank you for coming tonight, and go adjust it and take the pressure off. How would I know she has pressure on her vagus nerve? It wouldn't be going so well, but honestly, most of us walk around with that pressure because we've slowly adapted to that posture over the years, and we don't realize it. And all those little things that are going wrong, we assume, oh, it's my heart, or it's, you know, it's the carpal tunnel, or, you know, it's my knee, or, you know, it's, I just have that, the normal reflux, you know, and we get this all the time. It's like, those are not signs of those things going wrong. Those are signs of systemic problems happening over time. And the first thing that we should be checking for all of them is the central nervous system. So here's an example of a gentleman that came in with sleep issues. A friend had told him that because he was having poor sleep, he should see his chiropractor. And the friend was wise enough to know that the X-ray actually dictated the sleep. With this type of X-ray, with your head going way out, no curve in your neck, how good a sleep should you be having? Not good. Your peak is my floor, if that's what your spine looks like. But he got under care, and he went from 3 to 5 hours of sleep on a good night to 7 or more hours of sleep on average by going from this X-ray to this X-ray. What do you think his quality of life was like after that? You think he had higher energy? You think maybe he danced around on the balls of his feet a little more? Yeah, because he got those curves back where they should be in his spine, relieving the tension on the nervous system, allowing that innate intelligence that God placed inside him to express itself fully in all the areas of his life. He wasn't treated for sleep issues. He came in for sleep issues. He was treated for the interference in his nervous system, those subluxations that interfere with the expression of life to every organ, cell, and tissue in his body. And yes, the sleep got better, but also digestion gets better, and heart gets better, and brain gets better. All those things improve, and as all those things improve, everything else improves. So this gentleman, anybody familiar with this gentleman? A few years back, I believe it was in New York City, there was a big crowd of people that were pointing down to a young lady that had fallen on the tracks and needed help to get out. There were dozens of people around, and they had already been pointing for over half a minute. That young lady, did she need a pointer? Did she need someone else to come over and say, hey, you know, you're stuck on the tracks? No, this gentleman, he's a hero. He got in the newspaper because he jumped down in front of the rushing train to cover her with his body, rolled her into a low spot, covered her with his body so that she would be safe. They both survived because he was willing to step out and be that person in her life that was willing to intercede and make a difference. And I know we all have friends and family that deal with sleep issues. Yeah, I can think of 5 that aren't patients in this office that have complained about sleep issues for one reason or another. And what do they all need? not someone to push them, not someone to point, right? We need someone to come alongside of us, sometimes to guard us against even the dangers that we don't know ourselves, to intercede on our behalf, and to bring them along for the ride sometimes too. And so maybe tonight your action step is to buy a gift certificate for someone for Christmas, whether that's for massage with Margie just as an entrance so she can tell them a little bit more about what we're doing here, or maybe it's for an exam and x-rays and first adjustment. And because you guys are here tonight, I'm not going to charge you what I normally charge for those things. $37 covers the cost of the gift certificate, that covers the cost of the exam, the x-rays, the first adjustment, the findings. So they get to see what's going on in their lives. So who doesn't need to get that? Right? Everybody needs to see that annually anyways. And if they've never had it, they needed to have it 10 years ago. The second best time is today. Now, don't be a pointer. Be someone that comes alongside. Obviously, there's other action steps that you guys can take. We've got more classes coming up. In fact, we just sat down for 2 hours and planned out the whole next year over lunch right before Thanksgiving. The next event here, we're having, oh, Haley, jumping on our screen here, huh? Our next event here is actually not one that I'm going to be doing. This is one that Max Living is going to be doing in January. It's called Holy Hormones. It's a free virtual summit. And who's heard of Josh Axe, Dr. Josh Axe? Anybody here? We put his videos up here all the time because he's one of the world leaders in natural healthcare. He preaches on this stuff all the time. He was trained as a chiropractor, trained as a naturopath, trained in functional medicine. And so he teaches and preaches this stuff all the time. Well, so he's going to teach Max Living offices across the country. There's 350 of us across the country. And then Dr. Eric Shoemake, who actually built this presentation tonight. No, he didn't present it, but he built it for us. He gave us the content. They are going to be talking about hormones, how our body produces them, how they're regulated, what control mechanisms and actions that we have. So you can register by scanning the QR code, and we'll pass this around so you can scan the QR code. Or if you don't want to watch this at home and you want me to make some popcorn for you, we're going to hang out here at the office that night. It's 8 Eastern, so that's going to be a 7 p.m. Central class. So get some supper before you come. I'll have popcorn for you afterwards, and hopefully we can all get to bed by 8:30, right? So that'll be fun. That's on January 14th. That's a Wednesday night. So I'm gonna be skipping my Wednesday night church service so that I can catch this, because this probably won't be available after the class, unlike most of the rest of the classes. So my small group, if you're watching this, I won't be there that night, so you know. But Wednesday night, January 14th. So that's the event in the month of January. So you definitely don't want to miss that. But we do have some prizes for you.
So this specifically talks about thyroid issues, testosterone issues, estrogen, and prediabetes. So specifically, those are the 4 topics that they're going to cover. And then food choices related to, I'll get some more flyers up as well, but I registered this afternoon. Just scan the code and ask for your name, your email address, so it can send you the link. And then it'll put it on your calendar if you ask it to. Okay. So the prizes.
Well, let's start with just walking through and see
All the
who's,
answers.
see who's gotten the most answers so far. And then she has the cheat sheet because she went through and did it and looked everything up to make sure it was accurate. All right, so we'll start from the bottom, and everybody who's gotten at least one right, go ahead and raise your hands. At least one. Keep them high so I can see them. If you got one right, raise your hands. All right, put them down if that's all you got right. All right. Well, we'll say completed at this point. All right, 3, 4, 5. Oh, there's a lot. 5, 6, 7, 8. How many prizes do we have? 6? 5 of them. So 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, you can pass those out to the hands that are still out. Because those are the prizes that we have. But we're going to go through, see who gets the grand prize. Yeah. So what you're getting tonight, this is a bottle of the Serenity spray from doTERRA. It's one of the supplements I didn't talk about because they don't actually sell it anymore. They have the Serenity oil, but this is actually a mist that you can spray on your sheets or on your pillow so that you're absorbing some of that, you're breathing some of that while you're sleeping. All right, so keep your hands up. What were we on, 6 or 7? All right, we'll go 10. Anybody have 10? All right, 15, 20, 15, 18, good. 25, 30.
It's 28.
Okay, so liar. Did you get them all? Oh, 27. 27. Who was next?
I got 25 and he got 25.
You both got 25. You
Okay.
got 27. Okay, I think we have a bottle of, is it lavender? Is that what that is? What's the small bottle? Small bottle of essential oil.
Some medical clinics.
Okay, let's give the lavenders to Troy and
Oh.
Dorothea. Alcohol. Yeah, and then Margie can have some more.
Okay, so the answers are dark, milk, mood, work, apnea. I know, did you put noon in there instead of work? I did too at first. So apnea, drugs, sheep, shift, story, tired, sleep, dreams, pillow, snores, stress, turkey, alcohol, clinics, children, earplugs, exercise, mattress, position, schedule, alarm clock, 8 hours, temperature, and kindergarten. And then if you find all the words in the word search and do the rest of the puzzle, you'll end up with wake up refreshed.
So you might notice that there's some sheets coming around. This is the order form, so some of you might be like, I need all of those. If you're getting all of them tonight, it's 20% off the entire order, including anything else that you purchase or restock. If you don't need all of them, you get 15% off whatever you buy tonight just for coming as our gift to you. And also, if you haven't gotten a punch yet on your Wellness Warrior card, that will lead to additional prizes down the line. You get the 5 punches, you will get a free spin on the wheel, and we've got all sorts of goodies on the. And then be looking forward, if you show up to Holy Hormones on, what was that, January 14th? You'll get a new card. The new card will have new prizes. So everybody gets a new card starting in the new year. So thank you all for coming tonight. And it's always a pleasure to be here to help teach you and lead you and get you even healthier. So we'll stick around for questions, but I'm going to cut off.